Today, we're taking a look back at some moments in WWE history where sadness and reality collide, reminding us that despite this massive entertainment industry, some of the moments may go off script. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our amazing videos that we'll be releasing. The death of Eddie Guerrero was one of the most tragic and impactful moments in professional wrestling history. On November 13th, 2005, Eddie was found lifeless in his hotel room in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He had passed away due to heart failure, a devastating event that shocked the wrestling world. The news spread quickly among wrestlers and fans. Eddie, who had overcome numerous challenges in his life, including struggles with addiction and health issues, seemed to be in one of the best phases of his career and personal life. He was scheduled to film segments for WWE that day, but never showed up. His nephew and fellow wrestler, Chavo Guerrero, was the one who found him unconscious in the bathroom of his hotel room. The following night, WWE turned that episode of Monday Night Raw into an emotional tribute to Eddie Guerrero. Instead of the traditional opening with fireworks and a lively crowd, the broadcast began solemnly. With the wrestlers gathered on the entrance ramp, many were visibly shaken, unable to hold back tears. Throughout the show, several of Eddie's colleagues shared their memories and feelings about him. Chavo Guerrero, one of his closest relatives in the wrestling world, became emotional as he recalled their special bond. He spoke about how, despite Eddie being technically his uncle, they saw each other as brothers due to their small age gap and strong connection. Chris Benoit, one of Eddie's closest friends in the industry, had one of the most emotional moments of the night. Crying uncontrollably, he spoke about the deep friendship they shared and highlighted the unconditional love Eddie had for his family. Throughout the night, WWE aired some of Eddie Guerrero's greatest matches and moments in the company, celebrating his brilliant career and unique charisma. Several wrestlers paid their respects in the ring, and the pain of losing Eddie was evident in every word and expression, ending one of the saddest and most memorable episodes in WWE history. But some wrestling stories end in a tragic way. Owen Hart was one of the most talented and respected wrestlers of his generation. The younger brother of the legendary Bret Hart, he had built his own career in WWE, known for his exceptional technical skills and charisma. Despite being widely admired by fans and locker room colleagues, he never received the same recognition as other major stars of the time. In 1999, Owen portrayed the character Blue Blazer, a comedic superhero whose gimmick satirized wrestlers who took themselves too seriously. As part of this persona, WWE began to use elaborate entrances, in which he was suspended by cables and lowered from the ceiling of the arena to the ring. On May 23, 1999, during the Over the Edge event at the Kemper Arena in Kansas City, Missouri, WWE planned another one of these theatrical entrances. The idea was for Owen to slowly descend and, intentionally clumsy, release himself just before touching the ground, creating a funny moment. However, the mechanism used to secure him failed, and he fell from a height of approximately 24 meters, landing directly on the ring. The accident occurred while a pre-recorded video was being shown on the big screen to the audience, so most of the live broadcast cameras did not capture the exact moment of the fall. However, the fans present at the arena witnessed the impact. Many initially thought it was part of the show until they realized the urgency with which doctors and security rushed to the ring. Referee Jim Corderas, who was in the ring at the time, later reported that he saw Owen trying to adjust his harness before the fall and heard him scream as he plummeted. Commentator Jim Ross had the difficult task of informing the audience that something very serious had happened. In a moment of extreme seriousness, he made it clear that this was not part of the act. As paramedics tried to revive Owen, the broadcast cut to footage of the audience, avoiding showing what was happening directly. After being rushed to a local hospital, Owen Hart was declared dead due to the impact of the fall. During the live broadcast of Over the Edge itself, Jim Ross received the painful responsibility of announcing Owen Hart's death to the audience. It was one of the most tragic moments in WWE history. The following day, Monday Night Raw was turned into a tribute special for Owen Hart. Without any traditional scheduled matches, the event consisted of videos, testimonials from wrestlers, and emotional tributes. Many of Owen's colleagues were brought to tears as they spoke about his generosity and playful spirit. Mark Henry read a poem in his memory, while others shared personal stories about the wrestler. To close the night, Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of WWE's biggest names and Owen's friend, entered the ring. In a symbolic gesture, he raised a beer and made a silent toast to Owen Hart, marking one of the most emotional moments in professional wrestling history. The death of Owen Hart was one of the most tragic moments in wrestling history, but unfortunately, it was not the last time WWE fans witnessed a devastating live announcement. The June 25, 2007 episode of Monday Night Raw began in a way no one could have predicted. Instead of the traditional opening with fireworks and a packed arena full of excited fans, the broadcast started with an eerie silence. The camera focused on an empty arena, while Vince McMahon, WWE's chairman, stood alone in the ring. McMahon then made a chilling announcement. Chris Benoit, one of the company's most respected and talented wrestlers, had been found dead, along with his wife, Nancy, and their 7-year-old son, Daniel, at their home near Atlanta. The news shocked everyone, as Benoit was one of WWE's top names and was scheduled to compete at Vengeance, Night of Champions the night before, but had failed to appear. With little information available about what had happened, WWE decided to turn that night's Raw into a tribute to Chris Benoit, just as they had done for other wrestling legends who had passed away. Throughout the show, multiple wrestlers shared stories about Benoit, praising his dedication to wrestling and his impact on the industry. Edge, visibly emotional, spoke about his relationship with Benoit, while CM Punk, William Regal, and others paid their respects. Video packages highlighted his greatest matches and achievements, including his victory in the 2004 Royal Rumble and his iconic moment at WrestleMania 20, when he celebrated in the ring alongside Eddie Guerrero. However, what seemed like a respectful farewell quickly turned into one of the most infamous moments in WWE history. Just hours after the tribute aired, authorities began releasing details of the investigation. Initially, it was believed that Benoit, Nancy, and Daniel had been victims of a violent crime, but the truth was even more disturbing. Chris Benoit had murdered his wife and son before taking his own life. The revelation completely changed the perception of the case. WWE, which had dedicated an entire show to honoring Benoit, immediately erased the episode from its archives. His name was removed from future content, and the company has largely avoided mentioning him publicly ever since. The Benoit case had a lasting impact on the wrestling industry. The tragedy raised concerns about the effects of repeated head trauma on wrestlers, particularly regarding chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, a condition often linked to brain damage caused by repeated head impacts. Later examinations of Benoit's brain revealed severe damage, comparable to that of advanced Alzheimer's patients, which may have contributed to his behavior in his final days. Additionally, the tragedy prompted WWE to adopt stricter policies regarding concussions and substance use. Drug testing became more frequent, and the company implemented protocols to better protect the health and well-being of its wrestlers. Few moments in professional wrestling history have generated as much controversy as the Montreal Screwjob, which took place on November 9, 1997, during Survivor Series in Montreal, Canada. The event marked the bitterest chapter in the rivalry between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, two of the biggest wrestlers of that era, but it also exposed the growing tension between Bret and WWE, culminating in one of the most infamous betrayals in the sport's history. At the time, Bret Hart was the WWE champion and was about to leave the company to sign with rival promotion WCW. However, he still had a few weeks left on his contract, and the question of how he would lose the title became a critical point of dispute. Bret did not want to lose to Shawn Michaels, especially in Canada, his home country, and he had made it clear to Vince McMahon that he did not want to leave WWE in a humiliating fashion. He was willing to relinquish the title in another way, suggesting that he drop the championship in a future match, or even vacate it voluntarily. Vince McMahon, however, saw the situation differently. The WWE owner feared that Bret Hart might appear in WCW while still holding the championship, which could damage WWE's image. The memory of a similar incident involving wrestler Alundra Blaze, who had thrown the WWE Women's Championship in the trash live on WCW television, still haunted the company. Determined to prevent any risk, McMahon made a decision without informing Bret. He and a few allies, including Shawn Michaels and referee Earl Hebner, would plan an alternate ending for the match. When the match began, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Bret and Shawn exchanged intense blows, and the bout proceeded normally until Michaels locked Hart in his own signature finishing move, the sharpshooter. What should have been a moment to heighten the match's drama quickly became the turning point of the night. Before Bret had a chance to escape or officially submit, the referee received a signal and called for the bell, abruptly ending the match. Michaels was declared the new champion, and Vince McMahon, who was at ringside, immediately left the arena. Bret Hart stood in shock, trying to process what had just happened. As he looked around and realized he had been deceived, fury took over. He spat in Vince McMahon's face before smashing monitors and other equipment around the ring. Backstage, the tension was at its peak. Later, Bret confronted McMahon in the locker room, and reports indicate that he punched the WWE chairman, knocking him down. The betrayal left deep scars on Bret Hart's relationship with WWE. Feeling humiliated and disrespected, he left the company bitterly and spent years refusing any contact with McMahon or the organization. However, his WCW career did not unfold as expected. Despite being a major star, Bret never received the same level of treatment in the rival promotion, and his tenure there ended tragically after a severe concussion prematurely ended his career. For nearly a decade, it seemed impossible that Bret Hart and WWE would ever reconcile. However, in 2006, tensions began to ease. Bret agreed to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and, surprisingly, during his speech, he thanked Vince McMahon, signaling that he had, in some way, found a path to move forward. In 2010, he made an even more unexpected return, engaging in an on-screen rivalry with Vince McMahon and, ultimately, reconciling with Shawn Michaels in a historic moment on Monday Night Raw. 15 years after the infamous Montreal Screwjob, WWE returned to Montreal for an episode of Monday Night Raw on September 10th, 2012. However, this time, the event would witness an even more serious moment, one that nearly ended in tragedy. Jerry the King Lawler, one of WWE's most iconic voices and a wrestling veteran, was at the commentary table alongside Michael Cole, fulfilling his usual role as a commentator. Earlier that night, Lawler had even participated in a tag team match, something relatively uncommon for him at the time, as he had largely stepped away from in-ring competition to focus on commentary. Despite that, he appeared to be in good shape and continued calling the action as usual. However, during one of the matches that evening, something unusual happened. In the middle of the broadcast, Lawler started making strange noises into the microphone, something resembling snoring, and then suddenly fell silent. Michael Cole quickly realized something was wrong, and WWE's production team acted swiftly. Lawler had suffered a heart attack live on air while millions of viewers were watching. WWE's medical team immediately rushed to the commentary table, trying not to alarm the live audience in the arena. Lawler was quickly removed from the area and taken backstage, where he received emergency treatment. The medical staff performed CPR on him and, fortunately, managed to stabilize him before transporting him to a local hospital. Meanwhile, Raw continued airing, but the atmosphere had completely shifted. After a commercial break, a visibly shaken Michael Cole had to update viewers on what had happened. He made it clear that this was not part of the show and that the situation was extremely serious. WWE decided to proceed with the event, but Cole remained silent for the rest of the broadcast, choosing not to provide any additional commentary. Jerry Lawler was hospitalized in critical condition, but fortunately he managed to recover after undergoing intensive treatment. He later revealed that he had been technically dead for about 20 minutes before being revived by the doctors. His rapid recovery even surprised medical professionals, and just a few weeks later, he returned to WWE, where he was welcomed with applause and tributes. Despite this terrifying incident, Jerry Lawler remained involved in the wrestling world and even returned to the ring on occasion. Hacksaw Jim Duggan has always been known for his charisma, playful nature, and infectious energy. With his American flag in hand and the iconic battle cry echoing through the arenas, he won over the crowd throughout his career. But in September 1998, Duggan showed the WCW audience a very different side of himself. On that day, the wrestler entered the ring not for another match, but to make a serious and moving announcement. During a routine medical checkup, Duggan received a devastating diagnosis: kidney cancer. The news was a shock to him and his family. Accustomed to facing adversity in the ring, he now found himself up against a much more frightening opponent. In his speech in the ring, he shared his pain and concern, putting aside his usual cheerful persona. He didn't talk about his career or legacy, but about the fear of leaving his daughters to grow up without a father. The moment was deeply emotional for the fans, who had never seen Duggan so vulnerable. The wrestler, who had always shown himself to be a true warrior in the ring, was now facing the biggest battle of his life outside of it. Fortunately, the surgery to remove the tumor was a success. The doctors were able to detect the disease at an early stage, significantly improving his chances of recovery. After going through a period of treatment and rehabilitation, Duggan managed to return to the ring a few months later. His comeback was met with great enthusiasm, as he proved once again that he was a true fighter inside and outside the ring. On October 22nd, 2018, the episode of Monday Night Raw began in an apparently routine manner, with the then Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, heading to the ring. The audience expected another night of action, but they would soon realize something was different. Roman, visibly emotional, was not there to defend his title or promote his next match. With the microphone in hand, he began to speak in a sincere and unexpected way. He revealed that his real name was Joe Anoa'i and that he had been living with leukemia for 11 years. For the first time, fans became aware of this silent battle. Roman explained that although he had overcome the disease previously, it had returned. Because of this, he would not be able to continue defending the Universal Championship, and in order to focus on treatment, he was temporarily stepping away from WWE. The arena, usually filled with boos and divided applause for Reigns, fell into a respectful silence. Many fans were in disbelief, as Roman had never shown signs of being ill. The moment became even more emotional when his Shield partners, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, appeared on stage. Rollins was visibly shaken, struggling to hold back tears, while Ambrose maintained a serious and introspective expression. The three embraced at the top of the ramp, marking one of the most emotional moments in WWE history. After this announcement, Roman Reigns stepped away from WWE programming and began his leukemia treatment. During this time, he stayed in touch with fans through social media and occasional videos, always showing strength and optimism. His absence also led WWE to address the fight against cancer more intensely, reinforcing their awareness campaigns. Then, on February 25, 2019, after approximately 4 months away from the ring, Roman Reigns returned to Raw. When his music hit, the arena erupted in a deafening reception. He walked to the ring, smiled, and thanked the fans for their support. The most impactful moment came when he shared the news everyone had been waiting for. His treatment had been successful, and he was officially in remission. This announcement sparked an explosion of joy and relief both in the crowd and among fans around the world. The big dog was back. Which of these moments impacted you the most? Or do you remember another real moment that marked WWE history? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the amazing videos we'll be releasing. And